Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Sunday, March 31st, 2019, 5:43 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So, we're going to go over Nostradoomus's weekly methane report first of all. He is also known as Dave Alcock, our friend from the UK, and he's been tracking methane for the last month, and so he gave us his report today. And I'm going to show you a couple of things also from CAMS and from the NOAA website. So let me get everything set up. Hold on. Okay, I just wanted to put the two in this one browser here because we're going to be referring to some things here. So the product that Dave has been using to track the methane data, the actual data itself, is from NOAA, and I've shown this website before. I just wanted to briefly go over it again and show that it's not that easy to maneuver and to figure out what you're doing over here. He's using this IASI sounding product, and there are two satellites. They're called the MET-OP1 and the MET-OP2 that are orbiting around the planet at different times of the day, and the MET-OP1 satellite goes certain places, and they take readings in the morning and the afternoon. And then the MET-OP2 satellite orbits a little bit differently and takes readings morning and afternoon as well. And these are all the things that are measured. These are the like temperature, first gas temperature, mixing ratio of water vapor, ozone, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and methane. You can measure any of those or they're measuring these greenhouse gases. You can also look at these other levels too. So I've shown this before, but I don't know how many people go here very often. I was showing it in August when I had a blackout of data for a while, and so it doesn't go back for it. You can only see data for 3 days. It defaults to the day before for Saturday, March the 30th. Here it is, the 31st, and then we can go back a couple of days here too for methane. So it's different with the well, let me see. No, it's different depending on the product that you're choosing, but this is what we've got here. And so he took the reading from Saturday, March the 1st, and he went to methane, and he took the readings from all these 4 times. Like this is the MET-OP1 from the morning, and it says for Saturday, March the 30th, and then you have 100 different choices as to what millibar you want to read at. Okay, so when he says 300 millibars, it's this one. So it's listed right down here. So we click on that, and it's the color graph is down here. The range, the methane range that they measured from this satellite at 300 millibars was between 1432 and 2286 parts per billion. The mean was 1880. So that's the average. Alright. So that's what he's doing, and he's going through all he was just doing 477 millibars. I know it says 469 up here. That's the pressure. So I don't know what the difference is. I'm not a scientist. But the millibar reading, sorry, went back too far. These are the millibars here. So when you look at something like 477, this is, so we're seeing a higher reading of methane because this is closer to the surface. And so that's what he has done, and he's tracking these, and he sends me the data every week, and I've been putting it on, I've started putting it on a spreadsheet so that we can see what's going on, is a quick view and kind of do a quick analysis. So here's the post that he put up today under my video from yesterday on YouTube. He says, "Hi Margo, here's my weekly average methane concentration update. Latest observed levels for March the 30th. And so here are the millibars, and he's keeping these consistent now. He's reading them at 931, 706, 477, and 300 millibars. Here's the MET-OP1 reading for each of those. This is for the AM. Here it is, MET-OP1 for the PM, MET-OP2 for the AM, and MET-OP2 for the PM. Now, we're going to come back to his report in just a second because I want to show you the spreadsheet that I've made up. So I took his numbers and plugged them in over here. All of his numbers, and if you recall, the first report that he did on methane was just for 477, and I think it was about 477 for the other three readings. So I just took them all at 477 from the first week that he did it, because there's not much difference between 477 and 469. So anyway, so here it is for today, the 30th, for MET-OP1, and we can see that there's been a decrease in methane levels overall for the MET-OP1 satellite in the AM. For the 477 millibar reading, there was a decrease of 3 parts per billion this week. But overall, there's been an increase in 9 parts per billion at 477. I'm just gonna do my own thing on 477, and then he's going to give an overall report when we get done here. And here it is for the PM, and so we can see there was an increase on all levels for the PM on this satellite, and on the 477 millibar range there is an increase of 4 parts per billion, and since March 1st there's been an increase of 10 parts per billion on that satellite. Then on MET-OP2 in the AM, we can see there was a slight increase of 1 parts per billion on each from last week to this week on those readings, and So one on 477 millibars, but since March the 1st, it's increased 9 parts per billion. And then on MET-OP2 in the PM, there was a slight increase from last week to this week, 1 to 2 points on each of those. For 477 millibars, that increased by 2 parts per billion, and since March the 1st, I didn't mean to do that. Since March the 1st, it's increased 7 parts per billion. So my calculations, and then we'll do Dave's in a minute, is at 477 millibars, it's increased on average. I added those up and averaged them, divided by 4. So at 477, and it's increased 1 parts per billion in the last week, but since March the 1st, at 477 millibars, it's increased 8.75 parts per billion. So in a month, it's increased that much at that level. And I made up a little cheat sheet for or a reference down here for the millibar reading for people who are not familiar, and it's, you know, it's hard for me to remember exactly what all these are. So millibars, it's like sea level pressure, and it's also called HPA, and 931 millibars equals 1,000 feet, and it's considered close to the surface, and it's 1,000 feet up in the atmosphere, or 304 meters. 706 millibars is equivalent to about 10,000 feet up in the atmosphere, or 3,048 meters. 477 millibars is equivalent to about 20,000 feet high, or 6,096 meters, and 300 millibars is equivalent to 30,000 feet high, or 9,144 meters. So as these numbers for the millibars go down, you're going higher in the atmosphere. So I meant to go over that at the beginning. But anyway, there's that. So that's my spreadsheet. So now let's see Dave's explanation. He says, comparison with last week's data and analysis. MET-OP1 morning data shows a drop of 11 parts per billion bare total, whereas MET-OP1 afternoon data is showing a bare total rise of 12 parts per billion, practically canceling each other out when calculating the averages. MET-OP2 AM and PM are both showing a consistent rise, which taken on its own gives a mean global rise of 1.125 parts per billion. All the satellites' data points to a rise of 1.75 parts per billion at higher altitude, or 300 millibars. The overall rise of all the data I'm measuring over the past 7 days comes out at 0.625 parts per billion global mean increase. So it's going up. Every week it's going up. So we're doing our own research and reporting here, just to follow everything on a weekly basis, and I will be reporting here as soon as Nostradoomus or Dave gives me the information. I'll plug it into the spreadsheet and we'll do the report. One thing I wanted to show that's interesting, so thank you, Dave, for that. I appreciate it, and I know all of our listeners appreciate your data too and your reporting, because it's not easy to go to that NOAA website and look here, look there, and you got 4 satellites and this and that. But I wanted to show you something hang on, let me get it. Hold on, I'm gonna pause. Okay, I saved, here it is. I saved, this is a reading from NOAA for March 29th. This is from the MET-OP2 satellite in the morning, and this was at 477 millibars. And because this was posted on Facebook, and they were looking at the range of the methane, that it went from 1492 to 2967 in this reading, parts per billion. The average was 1856. But of interest, look down here in the Antarctic, and we have very high methane readings in the Antarctic. It's in this fuchsia color. So if we blow this up a little bit, you'll be able to see a little better. So we expect these high readings up here where I've been showing the methane coming up and everything. But CAMS doesn't really reflect those high readings down here in the Arctic for us. And so I pulled up CAMS for us to see. Of course, we don't have the data from that day yet, but when we do, we can go back and look at that. CAMS, their latest data is still from Tuesday, March 26th. So I pulled up 500 HPA global, and we do see some green level of methane down here, light green, like between 2000 and 2020 parts per billion. But this other was a lot higher. It was, what was it, 27? Let me go back. Oh, 29, almost 3,000 parts per billion. So we're not seeing that registered here because that would be up in the black. Oh wait, I forgot. You know, when you change levels, they have a whole different scale. So you have to refresh. It's another new quirk of CAMS that I discovered recently. And so those are overlapped. It looks like it's 2360 parts per billion. So even this is not accurate, even the black. And it would be going up into the black if it was reflecting what CAMS is saying. So but this is 500 HPA. It's not the same. So it might, you know, so it's hard to compare. You've got to compare apples to apples. Right now we're comparing two different data sets. We're comparing apples to oranges. And so we can't really do a great comparison on that. But I just wanted to show you this, where was it? I'm getting lost. This rise in the methane level. Of course, this is up in the atmosphere. This is for 477, and 477, that's about 20,000 feet up in the atmosphere. So I'm going to close all the, and we got a lot of missing data from that day. Look at that. So those white areas, it's missing data. So it's just really hard for us to try and do our own study, you know, without the access to all the different tools that the climate scientists have, you know, that the people at the universities and the government agencies, they've got special access, and you know, they know which level is the highest, and it's probably just spit out on a computer program. Here we don't know. We don't know which which one of these 100 millibar levels is going to be the highest reading for today? I don't know. I have no clue. I have no clue. So there's that. So I want to go ahead and do earthquakes because we've got a lot of activity going on, and I went over climate news yesterday. I do have articles, but I don't want this to be over an hour tonight. So anyway, I have USGS pulled up here for the last 24 hours. Oh, I'm going to close that. I do have one article I want to share. It's about this big earthquake that went off the coast of Ecuador this morning, and there were quite a few aftershocks, large ones. It was the 6.2 off the coast of Santa Elena, Ecuador. It came in at 12:04 this morning Pacific time, 18.5 kilometers deep. And Volcano Discovery posted on it, and you know, they show where it is and the coordinates and everything, and it's 211 kilometers from this volcano, Chimborazo, and then they show the different reporting agencies that came in. And then down here, it's interesting because these are people who have written in saying what they felt, and it's according to the closest to the earthquake and going out. So a lot of reports have come in, and it's starting down here near Mangloralto, Ecuador, 70 kilometers from the epicenter, and this translates to it felt very strong. I did a Google Translate on that. Fue muy fuerte, or fue muy fuerte. It felt very strong. Here's another one. Same place, they said shook a little water out of the pool. They felt it in Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador. I like to read these long ones. It says this is from some 14 kilometers northeast of Ecuador, northeast of the epicenter. It lasted around a minute and took the power out in the entire town. The power was out for several hours, so it was difficult to get info on the quake or tsunami warnings. Strong shaking. A lot of people are saying strong shaking, weak shaking, very strong shaking, moderate shaking. This one says light shaking. The earthquake wake up my wife and me. When we thought in wake up rest of family, it stopped. Here's another one. I live front of the ocean and there were no changes. Waves were normal and tide also. So that's a good thing. And it was shallow enough that it could have caused a tsunami. It definitely could have caused a tsunami, but it didn't. So I thought that was interesting. And oh, here are more reports. Here was one from 98 kilometers from the epicenter. Moderate shaking. Felt a very long, smooth, circular shaking that lasted for as much as a minute, followed by much weaker aftershocks, the latest being about 10 minutes after the original shock, in a hotel, and saw no signs of damage or sirens or crashes or evidence of panic in the streets. In Puerto Viejo, that's where they were. And I looked up and I didn't find any reports of damage or injuries to speak of. So, you know, this is happening, and you can see from the map today there has been a lot of activity, especially for it being a weekend, and the earthquake makers are at home. We've got some big ones and they're still coming in. So I have USGS pulled up for all magnitudes for the last 24 hours, and we're showing 259. Of those, 43 are 2.5 magnitude and higher. So let me see what's about to come off the map here. This 2.8 in Kobuk is about to come off the map. That happened last night at 7:28, but we'll be done with our report before that happens. So let's just start down here in South America with this grouping, large grouping. There were 5 here, and there was nothing beforehand. It was a 6.2 that came in at 12:04 right after midnight, and then at 12:08, so 4 minutes later, was the first aftershock. It was a 5.0 out here in the ocean, and then a 5.1 at 12:27, 32 kilometers deep. That one was on land. Then 1 minute later was a 5.4 right next to the 5.1. That was on land. And then a 4.9 out here in the ocean at 7:09 this morning. And USGS isn't showing anything else since then. I imagine if we went to EMSC, they would have more aftershocks. Up here off the coast of Colombia was a 4.6 near Nuki at 6:28 this morning. That's not very far from that Panama Canal. Then down here off the coast of Chimbote, Peru, was a 5.5 at 8:27 this morning, 26 kilometers deep. Coming on up, here's one on land in Guatemala, a 3.9 near Santa Maria de Jesus, Guatemala, at 5:55 this morning, 5 kilometers deep. Then over here in Fiji, we've got a 4.4 at 3:42 this morning, 367 kilometers deep. A 4.4 down further south at 8:40 this morning, 550 kilometers deep. And a 4.6 further south at 12:35 this afternoon, 584 kilometers deep. So those will cause movement around the planet, which is what we're seeing happening right now. Then in the Solomon Islands, 4.5 near Lata at 12:02 this morning, 150 kilometers deep. Coming on around in Indonesia. Here's a 4.7 near Kota Ternate at 1:07 this morning, 65 kilometers deep. So these are coming in after those big ones off the coast of Ecuador. So it probably is shaking it over here. Then a 4.4 near Itbayat, Philippines at 10 o'clock last night. Then coming over to Sumatra, we have one off the west coast of Sumatra, 4.6 at 11:30 this morning, 64 kilometers deep. And this is happening right now. Look at this. This is an event happening right now. They're calling it near Mohi in India. It's in the Andaman Sea. It's in the South Indian Ocean. We've got 12 here. They started at 4:32 this afternoon, and the last one just came in at 5:58. We've got 12, and something's happening. So we got a 4.5, 5.2, 5.2, 4.8, 5.0, 4.8, 4.9, 4.8, 4.7, 4.6, 4.8, and 4.7. And we'll check back over here before we end the report tonight. So it doesn't look like these are on land at all. They're near these Nicobar Islands, and but definitely we have an earthquake event going on here, just north of Sumatra, just west of west of this area coming down from Thailand. Oh, we just got another one, 13. We just got another 4.7 in. That one came in at 5:58. Oh, I'm sorry. That's including that one. No, that one is, so there's still 12. So I tell you, it's been a hard week, and the last few days have been difficult. Last night I couldn't sleep. I haven't been able to eat. I couldn't get a deep breath. I've been so nervous. I'm feeling very strange. And I imagine a lot of other people are feeling strange too. So you're not alone. Then there was a 4.7 near Mayate, or Mayati, that little island in between Madagascar and Mozambique, South Africa. This happened at 6:13 this morning. Coming on up, here's one on land in Turkey, a 5.0 near Akipayam at 4:30 this morning. Then here's one off the coast of Greece, a 4.3 near Muzaki at 4:22 this afternoon. Then coming on up, off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia, in the ocean, was a 4.4 at 8:25 this morning, 55 kilometers deep. Now let's go to all magnitudes. And take a peek at Hawaii now. Well, none of them are in the ocean now. We've got 9 on the island here. The largest one Oh, we got a 2.8 at Kilauea and 2.8 at Pahala. Those are the largest. It looks up. No, 3.1 at Pahala. That's the largest one. So we've got those going on over there on Hawaii. Let's look at Dominican Republic now. That's calmed down. We only have 3 over here. We've got a 3.3, 2.3, and 2.4. So that's calmed down. Maybe all of this activity down here in Ecuador took the pressure off of this Caribbean plate. I don't know. Then up in Alaska we have 121 of all magnitudes. Let's see what's 2.5 magnitude and higher first. We've got, I'm getting lost. We've got this 2.7 at King Salmon, 2.6 Anchor Point, this 4.0 at Talkeetna. Anchorage is right down here. 2.5 Healy, and then we've got 2 above 2.5 magnitude at Kobuk, 2.8 and 3.0, both at 0 depth. Let's go up to Kobuk first and see what's going on up here today. It's been swarming up here the last few days. We got 34 here today, so it's still swarming. Sorry. And it's spreading out, it looks like. We've got some little ones around it. So they're from microquakes all the way up to the 2.8, you know, what we saw, and so forth. And they're almost all at 0 kilometers depth. They're almost all right at the surface. This one further away at Ruby, Alaska, 1.8 is 26 kilometers deep. Here's one at Kobuk, a 1.4 that was 1.4 kilometers deep. So they're not very deep. Here's the deepest one, this 2.3 at Kobuk, that was 10.2 kilometers deep. And then we got one over here, 2.3 at Nome, or near Nome, at 2:26 this afternoon, 0 kilometers deep. Then coming on down, we're seeing them coming down, peppered through these mountains, and coming on down into Anchorage. In this view, we've got 51 here today. So that's a little bit of an uptick. So they're just coming in. So they're coming on down this ridge here too. So let's come on down to the lower 48 now. I thought I saw one over in Tennessee this morning. Maybe it popped on and popped off. Anyway, here in Oklahoma at Medford, we've got a 2.1 coming on over west. In Utah, we've got 3 here today. We've got a 2.5 at Farron, 2.0 Bluffdale, and a 1.7 Bluffdale. And eerily quiet at Yellowstone. Nothing showing up at Yellowstone. Up here in the Vancouver region was a 1.2 and a 2.3. That's near Anacortes, Washington. And a 1.5 at Sudden Valley. Then coming on down, nothing showing up in Oregon. Oh, I don't have my Tremors map pulled up. I want to look at that. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Here's the hourly Tremor map. And in the last 3 hours, they found an hour of tremors. Let's look at the last 12 hours, 24 hours. What has happened to our tremors down in California? They're gone. Look at that. There's just like 3. They're mainly up here south of Olympia, between Portland and Olympia, where it goes in there. They're mainly right along in here. It's showing right in here. Mount St. Helens. That's where it's tremoring, all around in this area. Yep. So, remember we saw that huge tremoring down here at Redding? Let's look at the last 48 hours. Okay, here it is, 48 hours. Here it was northwest of Redding, and then up here in the Mount St. Helens area. But if we go to the last 24 hours, look at that. That's weird. It's just a couple down here. Let's zoom in. Yeah, 2 tremors down here near Redding. But a whole bunch more than that up here at Mount St. Helens. So, and see, right up here, that's where we saw those earthquakes just now. Small ones. So these are precursors to earthquakes. Okay. Coming on down. Let's do Nevada next. We've got a little tiny one right in the middle of Lake Tahoe, a 0.9, that happened at 4:12 this morning, 8.4 kilometers deep. And then we've got one over here at Fernley, a 0.9. At 7:10 last night. Here's a little one by Hawthorne. Man, it's empty. Look at this. Is that it? Here's a little one down by Beatty, a microquake, a -0.1. That is spooky to see it that quiet in Nevada. And California, look at this. We got a 1.2 near Smith Valley, Nevada. Look, they're not showing anything at Mammoth Lakes or Mono Lake. Nothing. I think something's wrong. They should be showing something. I think something's wrong. Anyway. Coming on down, we've got a 1.4 Little Lake, 1.9 Coso Junction, and no clusters or swarms. That's, you know, there's just one here, one there. 1.3 Inyokern, 1.4 Bodfish, 1.2 Tehachapi. Now here's Southern California. Here's one in the ocean, 1.8 off the coast of Carlsbad at 5:52 this afternoon. Here's one right on the border, 1.6 near Progreso, Baja. Here's some small ones. Here's let's see what we have in Southern California here today. So let's, okay, we won't count those. We've got 42 here today. So that's not a lot, but looks like we're getting a few bigger ones down here. Let's see. 2.5 magnitude and higher was a 3.1, 3 kilometers east-southeast of Northridge. We can see it's between Santa Clarita and Los Angeles. And that was at 3:52 this morning, 11 kilometers deep. So that was right up here, and it looks like they had a 2.1 just now at 5:25 too. So that here's the 3.1, there's the 2.1. Next to the Van Nuys Airport. That's not big enough to do any damage, but it is showing movement. What's happening at Fontana? We've got seven, including Loma Linda and Fontana today in the ones range. So let's move on up. 2.1 Valencia, 1.1 Fraser Park, 2.1 Pine Mountain Club. We're following the San Andreas Fault line up now. I showed these already, I think. Yeah. Coming on up. Here's a 2.0 Hollister. 1.9 near Kenwood, which is to the east of Santa Rosa, just north of San Francisco. And here are the geysers, if we count, and here's the biggest one up here is a 2.8 near Talmadge at 4:29 this afternoon at a minus 0.6 kilometers depth. So that means it's up in the mountain. The epicenter of the earthquake is up in the mountain. So the geysers, let's zoom in on those. We've got 31 at the geysers today. They're kind of more spread out, it looks like. Ones and under. So I think that's it. Let's go back over here to to these guys. We're still showing. Okay, what did we have here before? 12? Well, now we've got 13. We had a 4.9 come in at 6:11 while I was recording this before, and it just now came on the map. So that's still happening. We're going to keep an eye on that. Let's look at EMSC real quick and see what they're showing. Where is this? This wasn't. I don't think this was on USGS. Here's a 4.5 at Tajikistan. This happened at 11:51 UTC time today. And it's hard to, I can't zoom in on, zoom in. Anyway, I haven't learned how to maneuver this very well. But they've had quite a few here in the Mediterranean, it looks like. Here's a 4.2. And here's some more over here in Greece. Yeah, that was Greece. Let's look at worldwide is what I wanted to see. What's going on down here. Zoom to African Indian Ocean. So there's those guys. Here's one. Here's a couple. Here's one in China. Look at all these. So we got 5.0, 4.7, 4.9, 4.7. We've got a bunch there. So they're just rolling in. Let's look at South America now. See what's going on down here. See, these are ones that USGS doesn't pick up. Some of these smaller ones, like 3.1. Here's a 3.3. Look at all these down in Central America and Mexico. 3.8. There's tons. And see, look at all of these. Here's 3.4, 3.6. See, I knew there would be one smaller that USGS didn't report on internationally here. 3.5. This is down in Ecuador where they had that one, that 6.2. Here was the 6.2. So, anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for today. I think that's it. I'm going to zoom out and see. Oh, we just had a 4.9. Oh, I saw that one. I was confused. Yeah, we just had that 4.9 there. And yeah, those are all the latest ones down here in India, or off the coast, down in the ocean there. So, right on that red line. So I think that's a wrap for today. So I hope everyone has a good rest of the weekend and stay safe. And if you haven't gotten your spiritual house in order, I recommend it. I recommend you get right with God and Jesus while you still have time. So until next time, God bless you. Go in peace and goodbye.